ठीक है. Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon. We'll start in the next 2 to 3 minutes. Welcome back. Welcome back. I hope you had a good lunch. We'll be now taking our journey forward. Welcome back. Okay. We have discussed, yes, Mesolithic. Now we discuss Neolithic. We'll wait for 1 more minute. People are still joining in. Okay. Right. I'll wait 1 more minute because still I can see everybody's joining time. So I can see you join. So as you know, next break is at 5. The next break will be now at 5 o'clock. I'll just write that down also. Yes. So now we are in the 2 to 5 p.m. session. 5 to 5:30, we'll have a break, half an hour, 30 minutes. And then we'll go from 5:30 till 8 p.m. last. So for anybody who's new, just remember Saturday we go from 12 to 8, Sunday we go from 10 to 8. Right. Okay. Now I think everybody's here. Yes, so I can begin. So till this point, what we've done is Paleolithic and Mesolithic. What we'll now do is a Neolithic, and more than that, once I'm done with the Neolithic, I will give you a certain formula which is important, and thereafter I will also give you the first summary, the way I give it to you, so that you can understand everything in the right way. And thereafter, we'll go into Chalcolithic, Bronze Age, Indus Valley Civilization, one of the most important topics generally. So, let's talk about Neolithic. Let's talk about Neolithic. Okay. So, if we talk about Paleolithic, is the pen too small? Can you see it? I can hear, but is the pen size too? Is this better or this better? A or B? A, B. Which is better? B, A, B, A, B, B, B. B is better? Okay, Paleolithic is better. Okay, so let's use this only. Now, very simply, we have to discuss Neolithic. So when we're talking about Neolithic, Paleolithic was about fire, was about evolution, was about crude tools, tool technology coming into its own. Thereafter, now we did Mesolithic. Mesolithic is domestication of animals, microliths, rituals, and burials, but still hunting gathering society. Now, Neolithic is considered a revolution. It is called the Neolithic Revolution or the Agricultural Revolution. Now, the point is that agriculture is basically a very important resource or a certain technology. If harnessed, it changes a lot of things. Basically, agriculture triggers a lot of things which would not automatically happen within a non-agricultural society. Now, what do I mean by this? Firstly, the standard question would be that how did agriculture come about? And the answer to that question is very simple. It's all trial and error. For example, for thousands of years, somebody would be noticing that a plant is growing. When it is growing, then it is going in a certain way. Then if you harvest it before, it is useless. If you harvest it later, it is better. Basically, somebody would have actually gone through this whole process of selecting seeds. What seed will give you what? How much time do you need to wait? The simple point is it's a very painstaking process of trial and error through which somebody would have been able to develop agriculture. So we take, for example, the atta, the rice, or the wheat or maize, anything we eat for granted because we know that if we go to the supermarket, we'll find it and we'll get it. However, that is not true for early humans. You have to grow it, you have to, most importantly, nurture it and protect it. So, the first major change with agriculture, or as soon as agriculture is introduced, the point is that agriculture needs what is called sedentary lifestyle. What do you mean by sedentary lifestyle? Can you sow a plant, sow wheat, and then go away for 5 months and come back and find the plant itself or wheat? if I sow it and then go away for 5 months and then come back? No. Very simply, it needs to be reared, it needs to be nurtured, it needs to be watered. So what agriculture does is it removes the nomadic nature of humans. Not fully, but partially. But most important, it makes them sedentary, or they have to settle down in one place. See, because previously, if you are in a certain area and you are here and you ate all the animals in this section, then you go into this section, then you go into this section, then you go into this section. You are basically nomadic. However, nomadic life doesn't suit agriculture. So the first change which basically agriculture brings through is that agriculture equals to sedentary life. Anybody has any issue in this? Agriculture equals to sedentary life. Anybody has any issue here? Sedentary life. Okay, nobody has no issue here. Very good. Now, let's take a scenario. Let's take a scenario that this is one Neolithic site. Neolithic site. Understand one thing. Agriculture would not automatically lead to every form of hunting gone, but there would be a section of the population very simply which would simply act like agriculturist. Hunting gathering will also happen in the background. Right now it is not the primary, but it is developing as a primary. How does agriculture become poison? I will tell you. Wait, for that you need to understand the process. Now we have, for example, A, B, C, D, E. We have 5 different farmers. In these 5 different farmers, this person grows 10 kgs, 10 kgs, 10 kgs, 10 kgs, 10 kgs. And together they need 50 kgs and they produce 50 kgs. What type of agriculture is this? Come on, geography. What type of agriculture is this? There is no agriculture, Sridevi, in the Mesolithic period. It's a properly Neolithic thing. This is not jhum, not multi-cropping, not primitive. There's a word for it. Yes, very good, Himanshu. This is called subsistence agriculture. Subsistence agriculture means the amount of food you need, the exact amount you produce. So there is no surplus. There is no surplus in the sense that they need 50 kgs and they produce 50 kgs. This is called subsistence agriculture. You produce to eat. You don't produce for surplus. Now tell me one thing. In this position, if I had to go by power or purchasing power, not power, but bargaining power, A, B, C, D, E, who has more power, less power, or all of them have equal power? When it comes to taking decisions, for example. Very good. They basically have equal power. They have equal power or decision making. I'll give you a very simple example of this and it will help you further understand it. Think of it like 5 friends are living together. All of them have an income of 1,000 rupees and all of them contribute, each one of them rather contribute 100 rupees to a order of Zomato. Now, when you are ordering Zomato or Swiggy, whatever you like, Does any of the friends have a say in what will be ordered, or everything will be in consensus to everyone? It will be in consensus. Very good. It will be in consensus because everybody is contributing the 100 rupees. So very simply, nobody can dictate anything. This is the point of agriculture initially. Agriculture equals to sedentary life equals to subsistence agriculture. However, what happens is that in the same scenario, A, B, C, D, and E, what happens is that 50 kgs is the need, 10 kgs, 10 kgs, 10 kgs, 10 kgs, 10 kgs. But what happens is that somehow, because of watering more or using a better form of seed, E is able to produce 10 kgs more. So he has 20 kgs. So this 10 kgs is called what? Is called what? Is called what? This 10 kgs would be called what? Very good. This would be called surplus production. Now, he is able to produce 20 kgs. Somehow he also gets to know he is able to produce 20 kgs more. So there is now a surplus of 30 kgs. He is also able to produce 10 kgs more. So there's a 40 kgs surplus. Now the point is, surplus is a very bad thing, because with surplus what happens is you need to redistribute. You need to redistribute, because if you will not redistribute, who has how much power will start to basically affect the society itself. So for example, E starts to dictate more, C starts to dictate more, B starts to dictate more. 40 kgs is extra to what actually has been produced. So surplus production is basically the stepping stone to early state formation. Export is not export. Agriculture, there is no trade. Agriculture equals to sedentary life equals to surplus production equals to need for redistribution, and therefore agriculture is the reason why there is a need for a state, and therefore early state formation, the first time a state emerged, was because of agriculture. And that is why agriculture is like a type of technology that has a domino effect. But why do I call it a poison? Is because now between A, B, C, D, E, are they equal as per social status? Are they equal as per social status? No. Very simply, agriculture is the single-handed reason why inequality develops what is called social stratification. That the society gets divided into certain stratas of haves and have-nots. People who have more, people who do not have more. So, like in physics, you would have done it, the Fleming's rule, the left hand rule, the right hand rule. You've done it, magnetism and current and amplitude, and you've done this concept of what we call as thumb rules. Exactly like the thumb rules of physics. Doesn't matter if you remember it or not. There is a very important concept in history that whenever there will be agriculture, agriculture will always lead to sedentary life. Sedentary life will lead to surplus production, And surplus production will in turn lead to need for redistribution, then the process of social stratification, and last but not the least, early state formation. If you can remember this formula, most of history will be clear to you generally. Whenever there will be agriculture, there will be what is called as complexity in society. What we saw previously was simple societies. No surplus, no profit, nothing. Therefore, everybody is equal. Inequality is something which is linked to agriculture. And that is why it is called a poison, which will always generally lead to problems of what we call as complexity, social stratification, and agriculture is like a certain type of catalyst which increase this. When I say early state formation, basically I am telling you the genesis of political science or polity. The first political structure emerged during the Neolithic period, because Neolithic period had agriculture. Agriculture led to sedentary life, in turn led to surplus production, then need for redistribution, and that in turn led to early state formation. Is this making sense? Is this logical? Is this factual? Or is it actually making sense? It is logical. It is basically logically linked. It's a basic structural concept in which it will automatically introduce a domino effect, a rippling effect in the society. Now, this is the first part, first characteristics. Now, tell me one thing. What would happen to tools? Let's use our logic. What would happen to the tools of this period? Come on. Use your basic logic. What will happen to the tools of this period? Plowing. So, what you mean to say is that the tools will become agricultural. In the sense, you will have celt, plow, sickle, basically agri products, as we call them, agri tools. How does redistribution lead to stratification? Acha, I'll give you a very simple example. Very good question, Himanshu. No issues. Now listen to me. 5 friends are there. Pay attention. 5 friends are there. Income is 2000, 2000, 2000, 2000, 2000. Are they equal as per income? Yes, very good. So, decision making wise, they are exactly equal. Himanshu, pay attention. Now, what happens is he gets an additional income of 1000, he gets an additional income of 2000, and he gets an additional income of 10,000. Now, very simply, within the group, there's a surplus of 13,000. Now, very simply, if this is A, B, C, D, and E, A, C, and E, are they equal to more than less than the power of B and D? They are more than. Very good. They are more than. They are more than powerful than the B and D. Now, very simply, how this 13,000 will be used. For example, B's sister or B's brother needed certain money for hospital. So A said that, okay, 5,000 rupees will be transferred to B. So by giving it to B, A has already shown that he is bigger than B. Isn't this basically social hierarchy coming through? Isn't this social hierarchy coming through? That A, C, and E are deciding what B and D will do and how this will be redistributed. Now think of it in the process of wheat or rice. Who will get how much? Who will not get? Is all based on this concept of redistribution. And this is why Neolithic period is characterized for this process of complexity or social stratification. Anybody has a doubt still, I'll bring the example even further down. But if it is clear, we can talk about the tool technology. No issues? Okay, no doubt. Very good. Now, when we were talking about tools, tools become what are called agricultural tools. Very good. But the most important domino effect means cascading effect, one after the other, cause effect, cause effect, cause effect. The most interesting thing or the most important tool which emerged was pottery. Why would pottery be needed? Come on, you know the answer. Logic, use your logic. Very good. Very good, Hardeep. Very good. Storage. Because once you once you harvest, you have to store, and by storing, what happens is you have to make sure that before the next season you are able to store it also and later redistribute also and redistribute it also. So very simply, the period in which for the first time pottery emerges is Neolithic. And because you are now sedentary, you have to also live in what are called permanent huts. So if I bring all of these things together, again, I'm now trying to summarize what I've done till this point. Everybody's following me till this point, no issues. Yes, okay. Features of the Neolithic. First, agriculture or domestication of plants happens. Second, agriculture leads to sedentary life and surplus production. Surplus leads to redistribution and complex social divisions or social stratification. Fourth, thereafter, you have early state formation. Fifth, agricultural tools. Sixth, the concept of what we call as pottery. And seventh, permanent hut and house structures. Anybody has any issue in these seven? No? So till this point, everybody is following me? Now you see, prehistory is basically fully logical. Nothing new, nothing big, all is perfect. There is nothing which is extremely factual. It's all logically related to each other. Perfect. Now, okay. Now the other thing, why am I doing this with you? Because they will use these characteristics in statement based questions and then ask you to identify or give you wrong statements. Yes, these points are very. I'll give you a sample question. For example, you tell me. I'm making the question in front of you. I'll give you a sample question. Consider the following. 1, 2. Now, please listen to me. I'm obviously not going to write it. Domestication of plants and animals happened during the Mesolithic period. Statement 1. Second, burial rituals and rituals related to afterlife were first seen for the first time in the Mesolithic period. Which of the statements are correct? 1, 2. I'll write it and I'll give you a poll also. Don't worry, we'll use one feature. A, B, C, D. 1 only, 2 only, both, neither. I'll show you a huge feature for the people who are new. It will come in front of you. 15 seconds I'm giving you. Give me the answer. Come on. 56% is totally correct. The people who went with 25 and 13, these 13% and this 25%. What happened? What was the reason why you went with A1 only? Understand, I said domestication of plants and animals happened in the Mesolithic period. No. Domestication of plants happened, not animals. Animals happened in the Mesolithic period itself. And second statement was burial rituals emerged in Mesolithic period. This is the type of question which can come because they will give you statements and then they'll ask you which is correct or incorrect. So now are you understanding the value of me making these notes for you? Basically, I've given you for every period a set of features. I'll summarize it in a different way also, don't worry. But are we following what we are doing till this point, and are you understanding the purpose? Because we are not going to do just hard work, we are going to do smart work. We are going to learn things in a certain way so that we understand what we are doing with that. You and me have to be on the same page with regards to what we are doing. Yes? Okay? Perfect. Now, the last thing which we need to discuss is sites, because Neolithic sites have already made twice their appearance in the prelims examination, and every site has a certain importance and certain sites have certain important characteristics, which is called the geological profile or geographical distribution, as you want to call it. So now, the oldest domestication of plants is not Mesolithic. Domestication of animals is Mesolithic. Domestication of plants is the technical term for agriculture. Sridevi, that is why I use the technical term for agriculture. Agriculture is basically called domestication of plants. Okay. The first important site is called Mehergarh. Mehergarh is the oldest Neolithic site in India. Now in basically Pakistan, but Pakistan is nothing but India only. The simple point is that the oldest Neolithic site comes through in Mehergarh. So in the Indian subcontinent, Mehergarh is the oldest site. So these things are not asked by UPSC, but if you will give a state PCS examination, they will ask you these questions: which is the oldest, which is the first, which is the this and that. So this will generally help you. But Mehergarh is a site which should be in your mind for sure. Thereafter, Kodhiva. For the first time, we see rice cultivation in India or in the Indian subcontinent in Kodhiva, which is in UP, so alluvial plain. Thereafter, Mahagara, These terms, these words need to be learned. I'll tell you how to learn that also. Mahagara, barley cultivation. Chirand is also a very important site because it has both rice and barley. But a very interesting site which also was asked in the UPSC examination in 2022 is called Burza Home. It's called Burza Home because it is in Kashmir, and very simply, it represents a very interesting feature. The Burza Home site is considered very, very important because it is the only evidence of pit dwelling in India. What do you mean by pit dwellings? See, rather than staying on the surface, in Burza home, what used to happen was that they used to dig a hole in the ground and then make chambers in the ground itself. This is called pit dwellings. Can anybody tell me what is the logic of this? What is the logic of this? Looking at its geography, what is the advantage? Very good. Because it is in Kashmir sector, it is very, very cold. So by doing this, they can actually adapt to the cold by going underground and remaining warm. So you see how environment necessitates change and innovation. And therefore, if in the examination somebody says pit dwelling, close your eyes and put Burza home. And if Burza home is written and in front of it, if it is not written pit dwelling, then more or less that statement is incorrect. One more interesting thing we found was double burial, which is that a human was buried with a dog or an animal was buried with a human. Very simply, the reason being that this is again a ritualistic thing. If the dog was alive at the time of death of that human or not alive is not of none of our business. If it was alive, it was killed. If it was killed, it was buried together. The simple point is the concept of afterlife has reached at a certain point that very simply they thought that the pet should also go with the person. So pets were domesticated animals were also buried with the person, and this we see at Burza. So Mehergarh oldest, Kodiva rice, Mahagara barley, Burza home pit dwelling, Chirand rice and barley both. Now we go to South India and we find multiple sites out of South India also. In South India, we see a very interesting feature. Tell me one thing. There's a site at which I have a fire. Once the fire will be off or when it will extinguish itself, what will be left? What will be left? Very good. Ash. Now, if for thousands of years I burn my cow dung here only, and if I start to excavate it, what will I find? I will find a layer of ash only. And this is what we find in South India. These are called ash mounds. Basically, ash mounds is a very important feature of Neolithic sites in South India. Please pay attention to this because what will happen, Gulam, very simply, there were certain spaces in the South Indian sites in which they used to burn the what we call as cow dung, animal dung, and this was done year after year for thousands of years. And more layers came through. So when we excavated, we find this whole area of gray, which is nothing but ash. These are called ash mounds. Ash mounds are there when at the same place you have burning of cattle dung or any form of fuel for thousands and millions of years. And therefore, when we talk about South Indian sites, we do not find this in North Indian sites. Pay attention to this because this will help you in elimination. In North Indian sites, we never find ash mounds. But in South Indian sites, we find ash mounds. In Karnataka, we find it in two sites. Remember, only two, Maski and Brahmagiri. In Andhra Pradesh, Nagarjuna Konda. In Telangana, in Utunur. And in Tamil Nadu, in Piampally. So you have to remember 1, 2, 3, 4 sites here. Total, till this point, I've only told you 8 here, 5 previously. The simple point is, in the examination, if the site is in north and it says ash mounds, then that statement is incorrect. I'll test this knowledge by the end of the class also. That do you remember this point? That is South Indian sites the only place where ash mounds are found? Yes, not in North Indian sites. So very simply, when we talk about Neolithic, you can add to this list in the Indian context ash mounds in South India. Other than that, all are the same. So did this make sense? And just to show you the tools, these are the tools which we find for the Neolithic period. We have grounding tools, we have sickle, we have plow, and we have grinding tools. All tools are agricultural tools. And this I've given you in the PPT. This is the NCERT map. This is the map which you have to remember, because NCERT maps are very, very important. In this, whatever site is already marked, Chirand, Kodiva, Mahagara, Burzahom, Mehergarh, along with Piampally and Hallur. This you have to remember, because this will come in the examination. These are all Neolithic has no metallurgy. That is why they are called lithic stone tools. Chalcolithic is the first time copper. We are coming to that. I'm now going to give you a very interesting summary, important summary. But are we following what we've done till this point? Sickle is made out of stone, yes. Can I summarize what we've done till this point? 3 periods together. Can I do that? Okay. Now, how do I revise? This is a very important question. In the past, what? Now close to 4 hours, I have told you Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic. I've told you certain features, certain understandings. Now, this is the way you revise, and this is the way you understand everything. Very simply, this is my timelines, and you have to please pay attention. You should be able to make these timelines once I've told them to you. Okay. If you were in modern India, you would know this, but if you're new to me, Mesolithic, Neolithic. And if you can remember this slide, my work is done. It is 600. Hunting, gathering. Simple society. crude and bulky tools, Mesolithic, microliths, agri tools. Rituals and burials, and anything I missed till this point? Nomadic hunting gathering means nomadic only. Now fine. Is this helping? Will you be able to revise through this, and are you, after 1 to 2 revisions, capable of making this yourself? See, what I will be doing is, as I go forward, I'll keep on adding more and more to this list. And once I will reach post Gupta, I will give you what is called the master timeline: economy timeline, polity timeline, social timeline, religion timeline. As of right now, we've done 3 basic periods. If everything on this slide is clear, because this is basically the gist of whatever we've done till this point, I will then move on to the Chalcolithic period. Yes? Everybody has to consent. Okay. Now, before I go into Chalco, I'm again opening up for calls. If you have any doubt which is more than just cannot be basically typed and is related to the discussion, you send me a request. You can take a screenshot if you want to, but you will get it in annotated PPT. You can take a screenshot. The simple point is, you can now call me if you have certain doubts which are meta or related to this whole period itself. You'll get this in annotated PPT, don't worry. Anyone? Because then I transition into the next period. Sedentary means to be at one place again, same place again. Paleolithic, no state, hunting, gathering, simple society, no trade, crude and bulky tools are in caves, nomadic, no rituals. Mesolithic, no state, hunting, gathering still, but with domestication of animals, simple society, no trade, microliths emerge, cave and semi-permanent hut structures, rituals and burials emerge at this point of time. Neolithic, early state formation, no trade, sedentary, agricultural tools, agriculture plus domestication, plus permanent structures, complex society, social stratification. Right? Okay. Can I move on to Chalcolithic? Non-Harappan Chalcolithic rather. Come on. Village, see, village is a very big word. If you want to say yes, villages emerged in Neolithic period, but village is a very modern term. Okay. Now, let's now move to the next period. We have now very basically covered the prehistoric period. Now we need to go forward and discuss the proto-historic in a way. Now, the period which comes after the Neolithic period is called Chalcolithic period. It is called Chalco because Chalco means copper, lithic means stone. So the first metal to be used by humans was copper. No iron available. No iron evidence available. And Chalcolithic period is now the period in which we start to get bits and pieces, small evidences of copper tools. Can anybody tell me why is that copper emerged first and iron was the second one to emerge? This is again chemistry. Alloy they find no in South India they straight away move to iron. That's not the point. Copper is light. No. Chemistry. Think of it as how it is made. See, copper smelting is at a much lower temperature than iron smelting. Meaning copper melts at a much lower point than actually iron. So even if they had iron, they didn't know how much temperature to give it. And therefore, copper, though it is malleable and ductile also, but the point is that copper was found and they were able to smelt and take out copper out of the ore easily because as soon as they give it heat, within 1200 to 1500 degrees Celsius, it starts to melt. On the other hand, for a iron smelting, you need 2500 degrees Celsius. And that is why copper, though readily available also in certain areas, and iron was not, it is not a given that you will always find copper and then iron. But in Indian subcontinent, the first references we find to copper only, and thereafter iron, because iron technology needs a certain type of understanding. So the simple point is, first metal to be used by humans was copper. Is this clear? Why it is called chalcolithic? Yes. Okay. Now, in India, the Chalcolithic period manifested itself in two ways. One is called the Indus Valley civilization, which is nothing but also called Harappan civilization. We'll discuss why. Previously called Harappan civilization. And others are called non-Harappan Chalcolithic cultures. Non-Harappan in the sense that though they are both are common, both are Chalcolithic only, they have a different culture than Harappan, and that is why they are called non-Harappan. This period is also called the Bronze Age. Bronze Age in the sense Indus Valley people were able to use an alloy of copper also, which is called bronze. Whilst the Chalcolithic, non-Harappan Chalcolithic people were only with copper, Indus Valley civilization people were able to also further smelt copper with tin and nickel to produce bronze. So bronze was only used by the Indus Valley civilization. So it is a subset. Please understand this because a lot of students again confuse themselves or are confused by different sources. Bronze Age is nothing but a subset of the Chalcolithic period. The Chalcolithic period in India is very big. Within that, you have non-Harappan Chalcolithic cultures. You have Indus Valley civilization. But Indus Valley civilization, very simply, is also called the Bronze Age. Can there be bronze without copper? I'll tell you the year. Don't worry about that. No. So therefore, Indus Valley is a subset of the Chalcolithic period. And this period is more or less what we call as the period between 4000 to 2600. Generally, rather, we give it this 3000 to 1700. This is 2600 to 1700. This you will find between 3000 to 1700 BC. It's just after the Neolithic period. This is clear, right? This periodization issue is clear because this is the first issue which students face generally to understand where does it fit in generally. No issue? Okay. Now, let's first discuss the non-Harappan Chalcolithic cultures. And whatever I have written or given you on this slide is more than enough for their information, because the questions are not coming from non-Harappan Chalcolithic cultures, but Harappan civilization or Indus Valley civilization. So for the purpose of the examination, you just have to remember these basic things. Everybody's paying attention. Everybody's with me till this point. No issue. Yes? Come on. Okay. Sir, what do if the Chalcolithic period is Bronze Age? What to do if the given Chalcolithic period is Bronze Age? Sridevi, they will say Bronze Age is Chalcolithic, then yes. The other way around, it is an incorrect statement. 1700, where have I written 700? 1700. 1700, 1700. Okay. The first non-Harappan Chalcolithic culture was in this sector of India, which is called the Ahar. Then you have the Jodhpur culture, the Kayatha, and the Juare. Harappan civilization was more or less towards modern day Pakistan and Punjab. On the other hand, in India, the heartland of India, we have non-Harappan Chalcolithic cultures. The Banas culture had the most important copper site in India, which is Ahar. Ahar is a very important copper, what we call as mine, and the Ahar culture used the most amount of copper. Thereafter, you have the Kayatha culture, named after the Kayatha site itself in MP. Malwa culture, there are certain sites together called the Malwa culture, which is you have which is Iran, Nagda, Navda Toli. And Navda Toli basically refers to a Toli, a group of what we call as fishermen. Further, Juare culture, which is, see, Channa, this 700 is specific for this site, not for the period itself. Certain sites go till 1900 to 2000, 1400, 700. So I have given you the basic period. I can't write 700 there because that will basically distort the whole understanding of Chalcolithic. So I know what is written here. This is for the specific site. This site went on. That's a separate issue altogether. Right? Okay. That is why this 3000 to 700, I'm not writing for this. When I'm writing vis-a-vis the Indus Valley civilization. This is for just one site, not for all. So that is why I'm they make it as 3000 to 1700 with a certain exception of one site, which is this one. Getting my point? It is not true for the whole period, only for the Juare culture. Juare, as it is, Juare and Nevatsa, the Maharashtra sites, are the ones which persist even after the once the what we call as the Indus Valley civilization is gone. So stone with copper, limited use of copper except for in R because it was on the mine itself, limited urbanization. This will make more sense when I have discussed the industrialization with you. Rice, social stratification, standard characteristics. The only addition is copper. So before we move on to the Indus Valley, I'll give you a break here so as to consolidate everything what we've done till this point. But just to give you a basic understanding, we have discussed Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, non-Harappan Chalcolithic, fire, microlith, domestication of animals, domestication of plants, copper. No state does not exist till Neolithic. Neolithic has early state. We are now going to enter the first most important civilization. Culture and civilization, the difference is in scale. We will now enter the most important civilization, which is till today considered the most modern one when it comes to its contemporaries. Before that, you need to be conceptually clear about all of this. Can I assume, can I presume, can I expect that you understand full prehistory, no issues with regards to the periodization, the names, and generally everything? I want everybody's yes. If you never said yes till this point, you say yes right now. We take a 10-minute break, we come back, and then we start Indus Valley civilization. Yes? Stone with copper is nothing but chalcolithic. Chalco means copper, lithic means stone. That is the period of chalcolithic. In this, we have two types: non-Harappan chalcolithic, Indus Valley we have to do. Within that, you have four sites: Banas, Jore, Kaitha, and Malwa. All have certain sites within them. Not that important. Most important thing is limited urbanization, and they are within Indian subcontinent. That's it. Okay. So it is what? It is 3-2. We come back at 3:15. You digest all of this. And once you've done that, we will start with Indus Valley. That is a heavy topic, very long topic. Kayastha and Kayatha, not same thing. Come on, Vivek. Kayatha. When I'm saying it's Kayatha. Okay. How to remember sites? Channa, I will tell you that once I've given you a certain amount of information. There's a lot of information coming in Indus Valley. It's called the 15 minutes rule. Don't worry, I will tell you that. 3:15, we come back and we will start Indus Valley. I hope till this point everybody is with me. No issues generally. See you at 3:15. Okay, welcome back. Can we start again? Yes. No. As you can see, the feedback form has also been shared by with you. Please do fill that up also. Okay. Yes. Can we start again? Come on. Shanawaz, you are emailing me as I'm write the message here only. Sir, could you told that Mesolithic culture doesn't vary by Wikipedia said yes, why? What do you mean by that? Shanawaz, write the comment here. Okay. What do you mean by varied, not varied? I'm not getting that point. So we now have to start Indus Valley civilization. Now the first $1 million question is, where does the naming come from? Why is it called Indus Valley civilization? And what was its culture of Mesolithic period is varies or not? Varies in the sense what? Every site has a different profile. Therefore, in India, they all exhibit the same qualities. Across the world, they will also exhibit the same thing. However, there would be something specific to them also. So, Mesolithic cultures, according to their geography and location, would have separate USPs or uniqueness. However, all of them together have the same qualities which I told you. Make sense? Okay. See, the first name which was given to this civilization was called the Harappan civilization. And very simply, Harappa was a very chance discovery in the sense that there was a British officer, his name Charles Mason. He was appointed by the British East India Company to go and do survey in the Punjab sector for the railways, which is the British railways. And what happened was that in 1826, he by chance saw a stupa, which is technically a Buddhist site. The video and audio is fine, right? Hardeep, refresh. I'm audible, I'm visible, yes. So he was surveying that sector for the British East India Company Railways. He came across a stupa, which is a Buddhist site, and when he went closer, he found artifacts. And by chance, this site was actually Harappa. So, because the first site was Harappa, it was for a very long time called Harappan civilization. However, once Alexander Cunningham, who was the first director or DG as it is called, Director General of the Archaeological Survey of India, which was then established in 1871, he was the one who started to then excavate the Harappan sites. He then found Mohenjo-daro, he then found Ganeriwala, Lothal, Dholavira, and very simply, the time it was told to the world, the first time it was told to the world that the Harappan civilization has been formed or found is in 1924 by a person called John Marshall. John Marshall was the successor of Alexander Cunningham at the ASI, and in a weekly newspaper in London, he published that they have found a civilization, and he changed the word Harappa or Harappan to Indus Valley, because what was common to most of these sites was that they were based on the Indus River, and that is why they are called the Indus Valley civilization. So if you bring these two concepts together, very simply, It was a chance discovery. Thereafter, the ASI started to employ different types of archaeologists. For example, Dayaram Sani for Harappa. Then you have S.R. Das. You have different archaeologists. We don't have to learn their names, but they then started to excavate on the name of the ASI. And by 1924, the whole world knew about the Indus Valley civilization and also known as the Harappan civilization. Now, why is that UPSC loves this topic? Why is that they love this topic? They just can't resist asking a question one after the other, maybe with a chance year not asking, but next year every time there's a question. And the reason is because the Indus Valley civilization has a distinction of being what is called the first urbanization, in the sense that the non-Harappan sites or the non-Harappan Chalcolithic sites, the Neolithic sites, the Mesolithic sites, the Paleolithic sites, what is common to all of them is the fact that they were all rural, in the sense not a lot of modern features or urban features were there. However, in the Indus Valley civilization, what we found were multiple sites which were exhibiting a lot of different characteristics which are common to all of them, but they were modern in the sense that they were planned. They had a lot of different features which we did not previously find. And across the world, as a contemporary of the Mesopotamian civilization would be in the Euphrates and Tigris sector, the Iran Iraq sector. It was the first urban planned civilization of India or of the Indian subcontinent. Understand one more thing, that close to 450 sites were excavated first. However, then the Indian independence happened with the partition. And what happened was that 450 sites, all of them went into Pakistan. So after independence, there was a major push and rush to find sites in India. And together, after that, 646 sites were found in India. Together, there are close to 1,000 sites which are together called the Indus Valley Civilization sites. So the first and foremost question which a lot of students ask, or you will ask me, is, do I need to learn all the sites? And the answer to that question should be no, because you don't have the time to learn 1,000 sites. The sites which are given in this PPT along with the NCRT are more than enough to answer any question. This topic is equally important for art and culture, so we have to be very clear of what we are doing with it. So the first point is, it is a chance discovery called the concept of what we call as ASI based excavation. John Marshall the first time tells in 1924, and the same things are written here also if you want to see. Charles Mason found it as a chance discovery. Alexander Cunningham visits the site. 71, first time ASI is constituted. 1924, in the Indus Valley civilization is told to the world in a London weekly called the Illustrated London Times. So, are we clear with regards to what is the backstory to this story generally? Yes, because then I'll move forward to the more important aspects. Yes, yes, yes. 1 second. Come on. You had your lunch, have to be more energetic. Yes. Okay. Now, don't need to learn between backstories. Just for your general reference. Difference between two, between what two? Harappan and Indus Valley, same thing. Both are the same thing. Name is different. Okay. Now, both are same thing. Harappan civilization and Indus Valley civilization, same thing. Founder difference. Alexander Cunningham is the first. John Marshall the second. That's it. Founder of this site is basically Charles Mason. Chance discovery. He's not the excavator. He's the founder. Okay. R.D. Banerjee would be the archaeologist who excavated the site. We are talking about the people who found it and published it. Separate issue altogether. So IVC, as it I will call it, IVC, Indus Valley Civilization. What is basically the area which we are going to cover? See, polity, economy, features, sites, site profile, religion, all are relevant to you. Now we will go one by one discussing each one of them. What I've established till this point is, why is it called Indus Valley? Why is it called Harappan? Who was the founder? Alexander Cunningham, John Marshall. Now, the Harappan civilization, or rather I'll call it the Indus Valley civilization, the IVC, is basically divided into three periods. First is the early period, mature period, and the decline period. In the sense that early civilization emerges, then it matures, and then it declines. Now, when we talk about the periodization of this, the following is given through Upinder Singh. Upinder Singh is an optional level book. So follow this timeline, because in every book you will find a different timeline itself. Now, the early Harappan period is 3200 to 2600 BC. 2600 to 1900 is considered the mature phase. This is at the highest of its glory. Then you have 1900 to 1300, which is the period of its decline. But by 1700, it is believed that more or less the Indus Valley civilization was gone. It was not in a position to basically be anything. It will keep on declining slowly between 1700 to 1300. But after 1700, IVC more or less does not exist as a proper civilization. Now, there are certain factual things which you need to know so as to answer any question. The first standard question which comes is, what is the geographical extent of this civilization? So the northernmost site is called Manda. In some books, in certain places, you will find the term Shotugai. The problem with Shotugai is that Shotugai is basically not a Harappan site, but a Harappan mining site for lapis lazuli, which is a basic gemstone. So Manda is the right one. Thereafter, Alamgirpur is the easternmost. Sutka Gandor is the westernmost. And again, then you will find multiple names for the southernmost. But the one which we generally have a consensus over is Daimabad in Maharashtra. So if you plot these on a map, you will get the following profile. This is the NCERT map, which gives you the early Harappan sites and the mature Harappan sites, in which you will have basic references to the most important sites. For example, see, Manda, Harappa, Kalibangan, Rakhigadi, then Mohenjo-daro, Sutka Gandor. But what I've done is that I've given you this map, which is basically out of Upinder Singh. This has all the major sites and all the most important ones which you need to know other than what you have seen there. See, Daimabad, see, you have Alamgirpur here, Sutka Gandor here. Thereafter, Manda and Daimabad, which is not marked in this, are the northern and the southern ones. But if you look at it, the sites are basically based on the Indus River in that regard. That is why it is called Indus Valley Civilization. Other important, Surkotada, Lothal, you also have Dholavira. These are other important sites which you need to know generally. As I already pointed out, Rakhigadi here and Kalibangan here are the most important. I'll give you a list. There's a list in the PPT itself. Don't worry about that. Now, can you tell me one thing, however, that why is that there is no site beyond this line? Beyond this line, there is no site. Why? Yes, there are very heavy forests which are there in the alluvial plains of India, very swampy forests. But why Can't they move further? Very good, Shushmita. Very good. The reason is very good. No iron. See, because they have no understanding of iron, the problem is that they cannot make the axes of copper and bronze are not that durable. So the problem is that in order to go eastward, you need iron. And with no iron and their understanding of iron axis and nothing like that, they cannot cut down the forest. So the geographical extent stops near the what we call as the alluvial plains or the Doab region or the Ganga Yamuna Doab, because of the fact that copper and bronze axes are useless against the very heavy deciduous forest and the evergreen forest of this sector itself. So the geographical extent, which is the uppermost, lowermost, which is Manda, Daimabad, Sutka Gendor, and Alamgirpur. Further, the basic important sites, these maps are extremely important. Maps help you visualize the sites which I will discuss with you here are actually important. Do not have to complicate it further. Simple point of the matter is what I've discussed with you is geographical features or geographical extent. Anybody has any issue here? No? Okay. So Indus Valley name, Indus Valley discovery, Indus Valley geographical extent, 1,000 sites. Nobody is a fool to learn all of them. The ones I will tell you are important. Anybody has any other issue than this? You have to be more vocal. Come on, as you are going forward, your battery is going down. 5 o'clock, we take a break. Come on. Is this clear? Everybody is following me. Okay, very good. Now, clear, sir. Nothing better. Now, the Indus Valley civilization has the following features. And these are called the distinguishing features of the Indus Valley civilization. One thing which I want to tell you very clearly, please understand this very, very clearly. These features or characteristics are very, very important because when I will do art and culture with you, these exact features are also the what we call as architectural and archaeological features of Indus Valley civilization. So if you learn this, you automatically learn that also. So this answer to the question, what are the features of the Indus Valley civilization and what are the archaeological features of the Indus Valley, same, exact same. So we will pay attention to this and understand it. The first most important feature of the Indus Valley civilization, why it is called first urbanization, is because it was town planning and development. See, every site of the Indus Valley civilization, with 2-3 exceptions, were fully planned. What it means is that if you look at a Indus Valley civilization site, you will find the first most distinguishing feature, which is called the citadel, which is called the citadel. It's called upper town or citadel. And then you have what we call as lower town. If I show you the cross section of this in a 2D manner, it will look something like this. Very simply, this was the citadel or upper town. and this was the lower town. Why is it that it is planned? Because this all buildings were public in nature. This is residential. This is residential area. Very simply, what we find on this mount, is basically the granary, college of priests. We find congregation hall. We find assembly hall. The point is that everything which was up here was very simply public in nature, meaning which will be used by everyone. And the lower town was all the residential area. This is called separation of space or spatial division. Can you give me an example of this same type of planning in any modern city of India today? Come on. Not Mumbai. Chandigarh, yes. Delhi. Chandigarh and Delhi. Delhi, New Delhi area. How is it planned? New Delhi area, you have Rashtrapati Bhavan, Rajpath, Parliament, North Block, South Block, everything in one place. And then across it and around it, you have all the smaller houses of the MPs. And the what we call as the Rashtrapati Bhavan is actually on a height. It's called the Raisina Hill. So very simply, actually, the model of New Delhi is actually copied from the Harappan civilization, wherein public buildings were actually brought in or were put on a height, and the lower areas were actually residential. Very simply, every Harappan site has this concept. It has a citadel and it has a lower town. Citadel would have the granary, the great bath, the college of priests, the administrative structures. On the other hand, in the lower areas, you would have residential. This is a very beautiful way of division of space: administrative and residential, public and private. Very simply, something which we've never seen before and we will not even see later. So is this first point clear? What do you mean by citadel and the concept of development around the citadel as a residential area? Upper and lower town, citadel and lower town concept. Is this clear? First feature. Okay. Now, the next feature which we find, which is again extremely astonishing, which we don't even find in India today, is something which somehow we forgot. Today, if for example we make a road, you would have seen it for sure. If you make a road, first the road will be made. Then somebody will remember that sewage line was not there. So they will dig up the road again, put in the sewage line. Once the sewage line will be put in, then somebody will remember, oh, we forgot the water. So they will add water. Once water and sewage will be done, the same road will be dug up twice. Then third, they will say telephone line has not gone through. So they will dig it up again. Then they will put in the telephone lines. Then they will realize, oh, we didn't put in the fiber lines. Same time, they will dig up the street 5 to 6 times. And by the time everybody would have been done, the road will again be repaved, saying that it is being redeveloped. Standard. In India, we forget and we do this. Telephone line, different department; water line, different department; sewage line, different department. Same thing happening over and over again. We make the same roads multiple times in India. This is called extremely poor form of urban governance and urban planning. But the Harappans did not do that. The Harappans actually had a very close and very planned network of streets, and the streets had sewage line, water line together made with the road itself. So the second feature, which will go back close to 4,000 years from now, is grid pattern and road network. In the sense that if it was the upper town or the lower town, all streets met at a right angle, and there was proper planning of the streets with smaller roads in different areas. Basically, if you look it from the top, it looks like a grid. But every site except one had 90-degree angle or had grid pattern. Can anybody tell me the exception site of Harappa which does not have a grid pattern? Come on. Not Kalibangan. Very good, Hardeep. Not Lothal. Not Sushmita Dhola Veera, you want to write. Not Dhol. Saksham, not Mohenjo-daro. Only Hardeep has given the right answer till this point. I'll tell you. Banavali. Banavali in Haryana is actually an exception site because here a radial pattern is followed and not grid pattern. What do you mean by radial pattern? Very simply, circular. Radial, you would have seen it, for example, if you've ever seen the plan of Paris, and this is very French in thing, you will have a city center. Then the city center, you will have one road which will go around the city center. Then all roads would go to the city center only. This is called a radial pattern. This is followed in Europe quite a lot. City center, then concentric circles. So Banavali, this you will find in Pondicherry also. The simple point of the matter is that Banavali is the site which does not exhibit the grid pattern concept. So we've discussed two things: citadel and citadel and lower town, and grid pattern. Anybody has any issue here? Come on. No, very good. Now, the third feature was every street had a planned drainage and sewage system with it. How they manage cleaning process of drains? How you clean today? Generally, see, the Harappans were very very smart. They never allowed their grey water and their fresh water to mix up together, which is that their drains were never linked up to their water supply. So they kept the grey water, which is used water, and fresh water separate. So even if they're not actually doing anything to the drains, it will not actually simply do anything to the fresh water. So they did not allow what is called cross contamination. So the whenever they used to make a street, for example, they made a street like this, and they made a street like this. They always used to on one side keep water supply, and on the other side keep the drainage. So very simply, they had some places open drains, some places closed drains, and the water supply never mixed together. They made sure about that. And Harappans, the way they planned it was that water was not wasted. And this is the one of the fourth important feature. Water management was one of the best. In the sense, you had rainwater harvesting, you had reservoirs, rather we'll say you had wells and step wells, and all were in a way linked to larger network of water bodies. And the most distinguishing, one of the most astonishing feature was that every house had a toilet. Are we open defecation free in India today? ODF 100%. No. And you see, 4,000 years back, we had one civilization where every house had a toilet. And they had proper toilet system linked to sewage system, further with flushing concept. The simple point of the matter is that we today can't plan streets with sewage and drainage pattern. And over and above that, in India, we still struggle with the concept of open defecation. This is why UPSC loves this topic. This is why we are extremely proud of the civilization, because it has such distinguishing features which we do not see anywhere else. And in that sense, water management, street planning, the concept of upper town, lower town, grid pattern, lower town, upper town, division of space is something which shows how, if you actually want to plan a city with no modern with no modern excavation, with no modern geometry, with no modern tools, nothing at all. They did it with rudimentary tools, but they wanted to do it. So this is again an extremely elaborate concept. See, this is a street. These are the, I'll show you, this is the brick, I'll tell you. These are the streets. On one side you have the water drainage, the other side you have the sewage. You have wells. Wells are connected to different parts of the what we call as the city, so that water is also flowing through different parts. And another distinguishing feature is called sixth, I think, fourth, fifth, standardization, which is every brick was made in 1 is to 2 is to 4 ratio. City bricks 10 centimeters by 20 centimeters by 40 centimeters, and house bricks were 7 is to 20 is to 14 is to 28 centimeters. So the bricks of the Harappans was fully standardized. Go to any site, go to any part, from Manda to Demabad to Sutkagandor to Alamgirpur, everywhere you will find the exact same ratio of bricks. That much level of standardization we don't even have today. If we ask something to be made in north and south, east and west, everybody will still be not able to make it to the exact same measurement. They were able to make thousands and thousands of bricks without modern geometry in the same ratio everywhere, which only tells us how civilized, but more than that, how modern this civilization was, that they were able to bring all of these aspects together in the best way possible. So, from water management to the concept of grid pattern, to the concept of streets, to the drainage, everywhere we see a level of modernity, a level of urbanization which we've not seen previously. So if I bring all of them together, if I bring all of these together, just to read it out to you also, we have discussed citadel and lower town concept. Streets and houses of the Harappans were in grid pattern, well laid out streets with drainage system, the concept of sewage chutes and pipes separated from drains which were collecting rainwater, elaborate water management and bathing. Striking feature is the uniformity in bricks. Now comes the feature related to houses. Every house, if there was a main street which was going from this part, the door of that house never used to open into the main street. It used to always open into the side road, because they wanted privacy. They did not want that the door opens into the street. There were no windows on this side, so that nobody from the street could see inside. We have 1 to 2 story buildings. Further, all houses were made on the concept of what is called the central courtyard. Do you know what the word angan means? Angan? Yes. You'd have seen that old houses have a central open area, and the rooms are actually around that central open area. This is called central courtyard, angan. So in India, we have used this concept for a very long time. Under European influence, we made it this concept of front and back open spaces. But actually, in India, mostly, and from the Harappan civilization itself, houses were made with a central opening space and the rooms around it. So very simply, if you look at the house design at this point of time also, you have a central courtyard section, central area which is there, and thereafter all rooms are around it, and the door would always open into the side streets, and the main street was always, we had no form of opening into the main street itself. And again, this is something which is standard throughout the civilization itself. So as it says here, houses had central courtyard, doorways always opened into the side lanes. Okay, now let's do one thing. Let's bring all of this together into one slide itself. Thereafter, we'll move on to the important sides. Everybody is following me till this point? No issues? Okay, perfect. Now, features of the IBC sets. Okay, now, first, town planning. Second, citadel and lower town division of the site. Third, citadel and lower town, then drainage and sewage system along with streets. Grid pattern except in Banawali. Standardization of bricks. Sixth, the concept of water management and rainwater harvesting. Seventh, central courtyard in-house. Eighth, you have no doors into main street. So that is basically privacy. 8 features. Can you remember them? Okay. Now, this site, number 8, no doors in the main street, that all doors used to always open into side streets so that they had privacy. Now, this slide is very, very, very important for you. You have to learn it. This has been collated out of at least 7 to 8 sources. You will not find it in one place. So my request to you is going to be, you have to go through this slide for sure. What I've done is that for every important site, what you find there, this will help you in PCS level examinations generally also. What you find in that place, it is given. For example, Mondadaro, we have Great Bath, Granaries, Assembly Hall, and College of Priest. This will help you in match the following questions. Then you have, for example, Chanudaro. Chanudaro is a very important site. Why? Seal making. I'll show you seals, what they are. Seal, shell making, and we also have found stone weights, basically a weighing system. Harappa is known for all features but also has granaries. The most important and the most important point, horse remains have been found in Harappa or in IVC. The site is Surkotada. You will find multiple contradictory things here, but from even sites such as Lothal, from Kalibangan, from Chanudaro. But the first main source where we have found horse bones is Surkotada. Please remember this point, because UPSC once gave a question for which first it said it did not have horses, but later it issued a corrigendum and it also agreed to the point was horse was there in the Harappan civilization. Now, was it used for transportation and all is a separate issue altogether. We found bones, but we have not found any toys or any other form of artifacts related to horses. But horse bones have been found in Harappan civilization, which means that Harappa had horses. Can we all please agree to this? I am emphasizing this because you cannot forget this ever. Horse remains have been found in Harappan civilization, which is or internet civilization, and the site is Surkotada. Thereafter, Kalibangan, a very important site. Why? Because it is known for fire worship, which is fire altars. Fire altars is nothing but Havan Kund. You know the concept of Havan Kunds. Havan Kunds is nothing but the English word for Hindi word for what we call as fire altars. Fire altars have been found, and both citadel and lower town were fortified. For some reason, there was a lot of boundaries which were made around the citadel and lower town. Dockyard, you have the most important site, Lothal. Lothal was in the news also quite a lot because of a maritime museum which is coming through. Dockyard, how do we know it is a dockyard? Because there's a structure which looks like a swimming pool, but if you go and check the base of it for the different artifacts, you find seawater and sea salt remains, which means that the site was basically a dockyard for the ships which were coming through. Dholavira, the most important distinction about this site is it is the only UNESCO World Heritage Site. Only UNESCO World Heritage Site is Dholavira. Dholavira, out of all the sites which are there of the Harappan civilization, it is the only site which has got the UNESCO World Heritage Site tag, which we will discuss in art and culture also. It is known for its excellent water management. It had a very different design also because it was based on two rivers and very important in that sense. And last but not the least, at Banavali, where we also find the radial pattern, we also found a jeweler's house, in the sense multiple jewelries were being made and we have found artifacts for this. You will not find this in any book. I've brought it from different books together. This is a very important, what we call as concept to learn, and a site, what we call as slide to learn. If this is clear, then I want to discuss something more fundamental with you. Are we following this? Kurnul caves found fire ash, so it is also part of this. No, no, Saksham, stand. Do not bring random things together. Yes. Now, the $1,000,000 question, which you would be scratching your head about, more or less, you would be thinking, सर को तो बोलना है, रटना तो हमें है. That I only have to say, you have to learn. So learn this, learn that, standard thing. But there is a way. So now what I'm going to tell you is how to learn facts. Can I do that? Something important for history generally will help you all across. Okay, very good. Now, how do you learn facts? $1,000,000 question. See, there's an analogy which I use, which is like history is like a pizza. When a pizza comes to your house, do you just fold the pizza and then try to eat it? Like shove it down your throat? If I give you a pizza, you will not eat it like that. What you will do is that you'll divide the pizza into slices. By dividing into slices, you will be able to eat it in a better way, and a way in which you will not suffocate yourself or you will not die. History exactly like this. I'll tell you why. What will happen is you will do these classes with me. Somehow you will survive till September. Then you will close the book, keep the PPTs into a folder, and then forget if history ever existed. And then the love for history will rise again 2 months, 3 months before the examination. And then the same sites, the same lines will now look like French and Portuguese and actually will make no sense to you. And then comes the savior seniors who will say, "Chhod do, leave it. What's the point? 3 questions, 5 questions, leave it." See, if you will not revise and learn history in a systematic manner over a period of time, no one, even I, cannot also learn these facts. Very simply, I am proposing to you what is called 15 minutes rule. 15 minutes rule is very simple. Drought, cyclone, flood, forest fires, anything, irrespective of whatever is happening outside, 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening. Not asking for hours, only minutes. For example, I told you Paleolithic sites today, or one simple We did this Harappan sites. 15 minutes in the morning, how big a slice you can eat is on your capacity. Somebody can eat a 5-inch slice, somebody can eat a 2-inch slice, doesn't really matter. 3 facts, 5 facts, 10 facts, 11 facts, 20 facts. Some of you are extraordinary, 20 facts. Some of you are normal like us, 2 to 3 facts. Learn them in the morning. For example, I learned Dholavira, Mohenjo-daro, and Harappa along with Kalibaba. Throughout the day, I'm not asking you to do anything. In the evening, try to remember the 3 sites which you remembered or you learned in the morning. If you cannot remember them, open the book there and then, start to revise and write it down, and make sure that before you sleep in that 15 minutes, you remember those sites. And next morning, try to remember those facts again. If you can remember those facts again, then you move to the next set of facts. If you are able to give this half an hour every day in a disciplined manner, maximum there would be 100 facts, 200 facts. And within 200 days, 500, whatever days you have, as per your 2024, 25, 26, whatever, if you are able to do this, there is a guarantee that you will remember all the facts. Because this is called everyday form of revision. This can be done for geography, this can be done for polity, this can be done for economics, this can be done for anything. But a simple point is 15 minutes rule, morning, evening. Simple point is you learn bit by bit. If you are going to say that I am going to learn all the facts of Indus Valley civilization today, then you're fooling yourself. I will learn all the articles of the constitution today, fooling yourself. I will learn each and every national park in India, fooling yourself. There is no one with this much capacity. As per scientific knowledge, anything which you remember today or try to learn today can be with you for 5 days maximum. That is the capacity of short term memory. To put it into long term memory, you need everyday form of what we call as stress and revision. So I hope that I'm not asking something extraordinary from you. My job is going to tell you what to learn. If needed, I'll tell you acronyms also when it will come to, these are called mnemonics. I will tell you that. But here it is hard facts. Learn them, revise them, 15 minutes, 15 minutes, and you will see it works. My students have told me, I basically played with this concept for quite a long time, and the way it happens is everyday form of revision. It's helped me, it's helped my students, and it will help you also. All subjects need 15 minutes. Sir. Come on, 15 minutes. All subjects cannot happen. For every subject, you would have to add 15 minutes. 15 minutes history, 15 minutes polity, 15 minutes economy, 15 minutes that is. 15 minutes each subject, 1 minute every subject. What's the point? I am pertaining to my subject. You can see for somebody who's 2024, you can do it, for example, 15 minutes, 15 minutes. For 2025, 26, 27, 2030, 2040, you have more time. Half an hour, half an hour. It is basically based on the amount of time you have. Try it. Tell me if it works. If you will add too much of detail, it will become hodgepodge. But if you do it in a systematic manner where you have your own repository, it will work, it should work, and it has worked. So I hope that this helps generally. Yes? Yes, no? Okay. You want a 5-minute breather? Because then we move to trade and all. We discuss the features. You want a 5-minute breather? Then we take a break at 5. Yes, sir. Okay. 5-minute breather. Everybody says yes, sir. The people who have never said yes are also saying yes. Very good. So we'll come back and do 5 minutes. I'm giving you how to read NCRT. I'll Hardeep tell you as we go on. 5 minutes. We'll come back at 4:15. See. Okay, welcome back. Right. Okay. Some significant news though coming out of moon. If you've been following Chandrayaan 3, the Luna 25, which was a Russian lander, which was going to land just 2 days before Chandrayaan 3 on the surface of the, yes, Luna 25, it has crashed. So the Russians were going to basically rob us of that title of being the first country to go to the South Pole and land a lander there, but it has now crashed. So जो भी हुआ अच्छा हुआ, whatever be the case, it was a way of taking the limelight away from ISRO, and we believe that our condolences with the Lunar 25 or Lunar 25, because they were able to use a higher, what we call as a higher input aircraft. They were able much faster than us in reaching the moon orbit. So something which you will see in tomorrow's newspaper, but just came through on Twitter or whatever X it is called. So Luna 25 has crashed, and we have now finally deaccelerated. The last maneuver which was going to happen tonight at today on 20th at 2 a.m. in the morning. It has already happened. So now on Wednesday 6:04, 6 o'clock, 6:04 in the evening, we will see the landing of, and we hope that it is a successful landing by ISRO. So some current affairs coming through as we speak. Can we go back to Indus Valley civilization? Yes. Okay. Now, whilst in the previous period we had agriculture, hunting, gathering, this and that, an important thing which emerged during the Indus Valley civilization was that yes, we have agriculture, we have hunting, gathering also. We also have animal husbandry, as it is called, animal husbandry, or what we call as domestication. The economy now develops a very important feature, which is trade. Which is trade. Very simply, internal and external trade, which was not there, trade, which was not there previously, which was not there previously, has developed during this period. So, in economic terms, why is it that Harappan civilization is again considered modern? It had an extensive network of internal trade, in a way that, very simply, the areas from where the raw material was coming was linked to the areas of production. There's a lot of craft activities which are happening at this point of time. And internally, tin is coming from some area, copper is coming from some area, lapis lazuli is coming from one area, carnelian is coming from the other area, the different grains, food grains is coming from one area. There's a lot of flow throughout this sector. Internally, they are very extensively connected. But what is the beauty of the Harappan civilization is that they are also connected through sea route and through what we call as land route. They're also connected to the world, what are called external trade, in which it was connected to Mesopotamia, the other advanced civilization at this point of time in Iraq, Iran sector. It is connected to Oman. It is connected to Egypt. It is connected to Bahrain. And throughout that sector, West Asia, we see that Harappan pottery, Harappan tools, Harappan names, and even Harappan references have been found. In Mesopotamia, because we've been able to decipher the language of the Mesopotamians, which is called cuneiform, proto-cuneiform, cuneiform, they refer to the Harappans as what we call as Meluha. As Meluha. So Meluha is a word which is used by the Mesopotamians for the Harappans. So what we see is that there is extensive trade at the internal and external level, which was again never seen before, and is very specific to the Harappans. And what is ironical is with the decline of the Harappans, this trade is also going to decline. So just to show you in a map sense, internally we have multiple channels through which things are flowing. You can see that in this sector, there are multiple channels through which the things are flowing. But externally also, we have a route from which they were getting connected via the sea to Bahrain to Oman, and through the land route, they were connected to the Mesopotamians and the different sectors. So you have Meluha, which is Harappa. On the other, Uttar Part, Dakshin Part, don't use the word. That is very specific to Mauryan period. Then you have Sumerian sector, the Magan sector, which is nothing but Oman sector, Dilman and Maharash and Elam. These are different civilizations considered contemporary, but the Mesopotamian one being the most important. Basically, they all were connected to each other through certain channels, and this is again something very specific to the Harappans. Now, this is what you need to know. What was flowing was their pottery. What was flowing further was beads, jewelry, necklaces, bangles, and what are called seals. Now, understand one thing. A lot of people think that seals are currency. No, there is no currency here. It is all based on barter system. But this currency, this seal is nothing but a marking. It's like a stamp which was used to stamp it. And we found these seals in Harappa, across Harappa, and even in the other civilizations. So this is like a marking which tells you that, okay, this thing is coming from Harappa in that regard. So very simply, now what I'm going to tell you, you don't have to learn, but just understand the depth of how this was actually going about. So you have standardization, you have mass production of items. Khetri mines was giving them copper, which was flowing through and across the Harappan civilization. Then you have lead and zinc, which was again coming from Rajasthan. Tin was coming from Haryana to Assam sector. All of this was flowing in each and every direction so that copper was available to each and every part of the Harappan civilization. From Gujarat, you were getting the beads. Lapis lazuli was coming from Shotuga in Afghanistan. Lapis lazuli still is a very, very expensive, what we call as precious stone. Two-wheeled carts, we have found small toys, which tells us that this was the way they were actually transporting. We have also found small model boats, which tells us that boats and carts were the way they were actually using it. The boats and carts could be drawn by oxen, sheep, goats, and donkey. However, horse we've not find or not found in this reference, in which we found this concept of a horse, small horse cart driven concept we've not seen, which is much common today in that sense. Now, pottery at this point of time had different colors: black on red, gray, buff, black on redware, and the motifs means the design and the symbols were more or less natural. Different geometrical patterns were there, but one thing is very, very clear, that human figures were not made on pottery. That is very standard. Thereafter, if you go beyond that, there is a lot of craft specialization also. Craft specialization means a lot of different types of crafts were being. Copper, we have found vessels, spears, knives, swords, arrowheads, axes, fish hooks, but this was for hunting, not for fighting. No weapons for war have been found in Harappa or Harappan civilization. They only have found hunting gathering tools, no weapons for war, which is human warfare. We don't have any evidence of. Further, you have seal making, which was again made across, and the material which they used to use is called ceatite. Ceatite is the official name or the technical name of a stone which is called soapstone. It's called soapstone. Soapstone is also called ceatite. Then you have cylindrical drills to make beads, and very simply, they had drills through which they could actually make hollow beads. So they could put thread through this, and they were making necklaces also. So there's craft specialization. Again, don't have to learn any of this, just to give you a basic picture. They had very beautiful craft specialization, very good technology related to it. They were making seals, they were making copper objects, they were making bangles and pottery. If you add to it the fact that if you go to Kish, Lagash, Nippur, and Ur, which are basically Mesopotamian cities, we have seen that Mesopotamians were importing quite a lot of items from Meluha or Harappa: lapis lazuli, carnelian, gold, silver, copper, ebony, ivory, the tortoise shell, chicken like birds, even cat, dog, monkey were brought in from this sector to this sector. So animals were also flowing. Further, we have found Harappan or Harappan related artifacts in Hisar, not in India, but Hisar in Iran, Iraq sector, in Kalesh, in Supa, in Tepe, and in even the Omanian Peninsula. We've seen the basic commodities. Now, what do you do with all this data, all this, before we go to writing, which is the more interesting part? Very simply, what have we done till this point? We've discussed characteristics, nobody has a problem in that. We've discussed the extent, nobody has a problem in that. We discussed geography. Now I've given you a picture of internal external trade. You will not be asked about, because it's UPSC and generally you don't get this type of questions here. You will not be asked about where is the trade coming from or where is the trade flowing. But at least by giving you this data, which again is out of multiple books, I hope you understand the extensive nature of internal and external trade. That is it. That is what I want you to remember. Can you do that? Is it making sense till this point? You don't have to learn any of what is written, just have to understand the extent of internal external trade. Yes, okay, perfect. Now, with the Harappans, we have a problem. The problem is that we know that the Harappans wrote something. We know that the Harappans also had a distinctive language. We know all of this. However, the simple point of the matter is we have not been able to decipher the language or the script. But first, you need to understand what is the difference between the two. Script is the way you write a language. Language is the noises or the phonetic system which is related to it. I'll give you a very simple example. This is Hindi language in two different scripts: Devanagari and Roman English. The way you write something is the script, the way you pronounce it is language. Now the problem is neither do we know what was the script, how to read the script of the Harappans, so we know nothing of their language. Now this is basically Harappan script. This is called a pictographical script in the sense that they use certain symbols to denote something. The problem is that there are close to 450 different symbols which they've used. I've been hearing for the past 5 years that there's an IIT Delhi project which is using machine learning and AI to decipher this language. But it's been 5 years since every year I get to know that it is coming, it is coming. But it is a difficult script to decipher because what they do is that they make this, then they do this, then this, then this. Now, basically, these three are different things. Now, nobody knows what this actually means. And it can be three syllables, three signs also. It could be 26 signs also. It could be anything. So, the problem with Harappan history is that we are purely based on archaeological sources. That gives us a lot of gray areas also. This is not true for Mesopotamia, where cuneiform, there was a text which told us how to read cuneiform. Therefore, we now know a lot about Mesopotamians than we actually know about the Harappans. So we have no idea really beyond what we have found. But we know one thing, which is that this way of writing is called Bostrofender. What do you mean by that? And that too is all conjecture. What do you mean by Bostrofender? See, if you go by Roman script, it starts from the left, goes towards the right. If you look at the Arabic script, it goes from the left, the right to left. Now, Bostrofenden is a very interesting way of writing. We believe this is how the Harappans used to write. So, if I write something today, for example, I am going to the market and will get UPSC related books. It will help me. So what have I done? I've gone till this point, again came here, gone till this point, again came here. But how would the Harappans write the same thing? I am going to the market and will get UPSC related books. It will help me. Basically, this is called Bostrofenden. This is called Bostrofenden. That you change from left to right, then right to left, then right to left, left to right. We believe that this is the way they used to actually write, like this. But nobody knows. Which is consecutive lines starting in opposite direction. And we have found from 5 to average 5 to 26 signs together. This is the Dholavira signboard. It's a very big signboard which was there. But again, we have no idea what it says. The simple point is writing. If in the examination it says that the Harappan script has been deciphered, no. The Harappan script or language has not been deciphered. Now, then you will say to me, then, sir, how did the filmmakers of Mohenjo-daro make that movie? So, please stay away from movies as source of history because it is all based on random conjecture and they have no idea what they were doing also. Very badly made movie also, Hrithik Roshan. I would say that bad choice of movies in that sense. So I got a fever after watching that. Well, I hope that you are now better. But simply, please do not go with the line has not been deciphered till this point. Please remember this point has not been deciphered. Any statement which talks about this, not deciphered. Clear with regards to this? I watched Oppenheimer also, yes. It's good. See, Nolan movies generally you expect a little bit of Interstellar, Inception, a lot of mystery, nail biting. Oppenheimer in that ways is good, but a little bit slow paced. You know what is going to happen. He is going to very simply make the bomb and it will explode. So everybody knows that the Manhattan Project happened. So the acting is good, generally good, but unlike, for example, Dark Knight, unlike Inception, Interstellar in itself is a very, very interesting movie. The interest is not there. Good movie that is. Okay. Can we move on to then thereafter society and religion? Okay. When we talk about society, we already know that it's a stratified society, obviously, because very simply it is a agriculture based economy. So if it is going to be agriculture based economy, it will be stratified. Therefore, agriculture was one of the reasons why it is a complex society. Then, when you look at the subsistence pattern, what they were eating, because Harappan civilization had different types of environments, in the sense it has plains also, mountains also, coastal region also. You have found wheat also. We found wheat from Mohenjo-daro, barley from Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. Thereafter, we have found dates, peas, watermelon, rice, and millets, everything. Basically, their diet included everything. And one of the most important things is, though Mehergarh was the first place where cotton was grown, Harappans were the first to grow and use cotton cloth. If you will read the NCRT, it will say that Mehergarh, which is a Neolithic site, had cotton evidences, but cotton was never extensively used in the Mehergarh sector in the Neolithic site. Rather, it is the Harappans who have a distinction across the world to use and even export cotton cloth, which was always India's and will always remain India's major, what we call as advantage. But the simple point is, cotton was grown and used in Harappa for the first time in the right way and in an extensive way. Further, we found a plowed field in Kalibangan, terracotta model of the plow. Irrigation has been found, or irrigation channels have been found in Shotugai. Bones of wild animals have been found. So basically, it confirms our understanding that it is an agricultural economy plus hunting gathering plus domestication, very extensive, very, very well thought out. And more than that, it has a very interesting network of trade in that sense. So before I move to religion, which is the most interesting aspect, are we all clear with regards to what am I trying to do here? I'm trying to tell you the characteristics of the period. I'm trying to create a picture in your mind what the Harappan civilization used to look like and the different aspects related to it. I have already told you the major points. I'm just confirming that through the text in that sense. Terracotta is nothing but clay. Terracotta is when you take mud, heat it, it becomes terracotta. Terracotta, ceatite, two major things. We will discuss it. I will show it to you also in art and culture. Terracotta is clay. Okay, now let's talk about religion. See, one thing should be very clear to you. Harappans did not follow Hinduism, Vedic Brahmanism, no. What they followed is called naturalistic religion, which is that they worship male and female goddesses as personification of nature. And this is something which we still have in our religion today, which is that they feared the supernatural, the sun, the moon, the plants, the water, the fire. And therefore, we see in different places what is called fire worship, water worship, earth worship, tree worship. So very simply, they worshipped what gave them their power, which gave them the resources, which is basically the nature, naturalistic religion. However, no temples, have been found, but we have these figurines. These are called mother goddess figurines. Figurines means nothing but statues. Now, mother goddess figurines, what would the mother goddess actually embody of nature? Come on, use your logic. Using the female figure, what would it actually embody? Very good, Hardeep. Within that, what? Yes, it is land. But within land, what? Fertility. So the fertility of land was linked to or was worshipped through mother goddess figurines. That the mother goddess basically referred to fertility. So you have ritualized bathing, which is nothing but the concept of the great bath, which is a swimming pool type area in which everybody used to come together. Can you give me an example of ritualized bathing together in India today? Ritualized bathing in India today? Very good. Kumbh Mela. Kumbh is one of the Kumbh as a concept is a very important concept in which we always do Ganga Snan, Kumbh, basically are examples of ritualized. So you can see that we can see the imprints of Harappan civilization and its religion even after 4 to 5,000 years later. Mother goddess figurines we already understand is linked to fertility. Now, we also have people tree, fire altars, and burials, all related to nature. But there are two very interesting things which are linked to the Harappan civilization, and it is linked to this seal. This seal is called the Pashupati seal. Pashupati seal. There is an inscription here which we don't know what it says actually. But what we see is a person is a male, matlab we think it is a male figure in a yogic position, and he is surrounded by animals, the rhino, the elephant, the tiger, and the bull. So basically he represents animal husbandry. Animal husbandry. But this seal is also sometimes called the proto Shiva. Is also sometimes called the proto Shiva seal. It's broken because it did not 5,000 years ago. How do you expect it to be there? Now there are two things. For the purpose of the examination, it is the Pashupati seal, represents animal husbandry. It is also proto Shiva in the sense that it represents in a way early form of Shiva. All of that I accept for the purpose of the examination. However, there's a problem. But when I tell you the problem, then we are going beyond our syllabus. So there are two things. I can either tell you that or I cannot tell you that. Very simply. For the purpose of the examination, Pashupati seal, Proto Shiva, animal husbandry, male yogic position related to the Shiva concept later coming out of here. This is what generally books will tell you. But there are problems in this understanding because if I talk, when I tell you these problems, we are going beyond UPSC level, going to academic level. But if you are asking me to tell you that, you have to then promise me to not use it in any context in the examination. It's then for only your general knowledge. Can we discuss that? If you say no, I won't. So it's your call. Okay. Promise. Very good. See, tell me first one thing. Just by looking at this seal, is it Pashupati or Patni? Can you make out? No. So we don't know it is male or female. We presume it is a male. Second, the problem is that Proto Shiva, if we call it, The concept of Shiva within Hinduism will come around 600, rather 300, 400 CE, which is close to 3000 years from now. So the problem is that we are projecting something which is not there. And even if it was there, it had to have a link with the Rig Veda, which is again not there. So very simply, we are trying to find something which is actually not there. And this is called British misappropriation of facts. Because who called it Pashupati or Proto Shiva was the British. Because the Shiva saw, because the British saw Shiva and they said, oh, Proto Shiva. And they said, this is has to be a male and this is related to yogic position. However, there's a whole new literature which is available to us, which argues that we cannot ascertain the gender of the seal itself. Therefore, it cannot be presumed that it is Proto Shiva. It could be Proto Parvati. It could be anything. So, for the purpose of the examination, we go with it that it is animal husbandry, Proto Shiva, yogic position, linga position, whatever it may be. But the point of the matter is we are still not sure, and without knowing what the seal says. What if the seal says something randomly totally different? What if this once we deciphered it gives us maybe it is Shiva? Anything can be there. And this is the problem where when we don't have literary texts, when we don't have literary references, this is what happens. You tend to now start to go into conjecture. That is the biggest issue. That we are just in random conjectural zone where we can't actually ascertain anything. But as I said, this is what you are going to remember, which is male and female goddesses, no temples, nature worship. Proto Shiva seal proves male worship, and the mother goddess figures, both a terracotta figuring, a ceatite figuring, tells us about female. So I think you get my point. Why there is so much confusion over this seal itself generally? Yes. Yes. No. Okay. Mother goddess figure, simply mother goddess figure transcends civilizations. In every civilization you'll find women figurings, or what we call as mother goddess figurings, which always are either put into the ground or are worshipped as form of fertility. Women are the embody the concept of fertility in human civilization, and the same way they represent in land also fertility in that sense. Okay, now there are two things. We can do polity now. Let's come to polity. Can we do that? Come on, everybody's following me. This is the last thing I do. Decline I will do after the break. Okay, very good. Now let's talk about polity. When we talk about polity, again, UPSC can't ask a question. Why? Because I agree, you agree that standardization, uniformity, citadel, all tell us that there is a mature state. But we don't know the nature of it. Who ran it? We know that the citadel tells us that there is a state. There's some power figure. Because of this ceatite, which is called the bearded priest, we believe it is priests. There's one set of what we call as historians who argue that it could be merchants, it could be you, it could be me, it could be anybody. The point is, again, here there is no clarity. Because to understand the nature, we need to understand the script. So UPSC, if they say that the Harappan civilization was run by merchants, that is also correct. Run by priests, that is also correct. The point is, there's different literature which argues some way. There's a different literature which argues in the other direction. These things can only be sorted with the understanding of scripts. So if some people argue it is priestly rule, which was represented in that movie also. Some people argue because trade was so important, it could be merchant rule. Srin Ratnagar is the name of that historian. Could be anything. Again, it is open to interpretation. जो आपका मन कहे, whatever your heart says, it is that. It could be you, it could be me, it could be anybody who ran the Indus Valley civilization. But there was a state, nobody is denying that. That much level of what we call as standardization, centralization, uniformity cannot be there without a state itself. So again, king may have been there. Maybe there will be multiple kings. Could be anything. See, are you getting this? When there is in history, every time it's not black and white. Sometimes it's gray. That you have mixture of things. I cannot plausibly say you are wrong, I am right, or I am wrong, or you are right. That very simply, if you say today, sir, Harappan civilization was run by monkeys, I could say, sure, why not? 50% yes, 50% no. Until as I don't have evidences, I can't say anything. So it could be anything. It could be anything. So understand this, right? Polity, we have no clarity as of right now. With this, I open you all for doubts, and if you want to call. After this decline again, there's a lot of conjecture, but they have to explain a lot of things to you. So if you want to call and ask me something, I would be happy to take your calls now, and we will now meet at after this break at 5:30 p.m. So suppose we are reading something in textbook, then we have new discovery or speculation happens in news. Which see, understand one thing, Saurabh. If there's something in the news, it has to be first accredited by historians, added to the literature. Until unless it does not appear in the NCRT, it is not news for you, or it is not new thing for you in history. Okay. The live call feature is on. If you want to call and ask, please do. No? Yes. Sir, if I get time in means, can I use color pencil? Shushmita, if you will never get time in means, you can use color pencil if you want to. Part C link is at 5:30. Yes, I think it is at 5:30. Yes, 5:30. How were these statues broken? Tell me one thing, Vivek. I give you a small statue and I ask you to preserve it for 10,000 years. Won't it be broken in some way or the other? These are broken because of wear and tear, general standard wear and tear. Okay, no doubt. Can we take a break in that case? Yes? Okay. So I'll see you at 5:30 now. This link will stop and I'll see you at 5:30 again. We'll talk about Indus Valley, Aryan migration, and then Rig Veda and the later Vedic and early Vedic period. Interesting again in that sense. See you.